So let's look at 3 example problems today. What we want to do is get them set up and make a plan, and then we want to do our fraction operations, which can be a combination of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So for this first one, we have Shannon is going on a 12-mile hike. She hiked 4 7/8 miles before lunch and 3 3/4 miles after lunch. How many miles does she have left? So my plan for this problem is to add 4 7/8 and 3 3/4 and subtract that sum from 12. Of course, to add these, we're going to need a common denominator, and I'm going to use 8. So I'll rewrite this as 12 minus 4 7/8, and then multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by 2, I'll get 3 6/8. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our sum here, the 4 7/8 plus the 3 6/8. 4 plus 3 gives me 7, and 7/8 plus 6/8 gives me 13/8. Of course, 13/8 is improper. I could rewrite it as 1 5/8. So what I really have here, instead of 7 13/8, I really have 7 plus 1 5/8. So that's 8 5/8. And that's what I need to subtract from 12. So I need to do 12 minus 8 5/8. So let's talk about subtracting 8 5/8 from 12. Well, I can rewrite 12 as 11 8/8 because that's like 11 plus 1. 11 is 11 and 8/8 is 1. When you put them together, you get 12. So these mean the same thing. So now we're ready to subtract 8 5/8. All I need to do is subtract 11 minus 8, that's 3, and then subtract 8/8 minus 5/8. That's 3/8. So I can see that she has 3 3/8 miles left to hike. So this next one talks about Toby's car. It says that Toby's car has a capacity of 17 1/10 gallons. The last time he filled up his car, he bought 15 7/8 gallons. How many gallons of gasoline were in his car before he filled up? So the amount of gas already in his car would be the difference between these two numbers. So I want to do 17 1/10 minus 15 7/8. Of course, I'm going to need a common denominator. So I listed out my multiples of 8 and 10, and I see that 40 is my least common multiple. Multiplying both the numerator and the denominator of my first mixed number by 4, I get 17 4/40. And multiplying the numerator and denominator of my second mixed number by 5, I get 15 35/40. Now I can't quite subtract these because 4/40 is smaller than 35/40. So let me rewrite this. Instead of writing 17, I'm going to write 16. So I'm going to take 40/40 from there and rewrite that just as 16 because 40/40 is 1. So let me add those 40/40 to my 4/40, and now I get that, which is going to be 44/40. So 16 44/40 is the same thing as 17 4/40, and now I can subtract my 15 35/40 from that. So let's do 16 minus 15, that's just 1, and 44 minus 35 is 9. So he must have had 1 9/40 gallons before filling up his gas tank. So we've got one more problem here, and this one says that Roger wants to carpet a rectangular room with a length of 8 3/4 feet and a width of 9 1/3 feet. He has 85 square feet of carpet, and we want to know how much will be left after he covers the floor of the room. So we're going to take what he has, that's 85 square feet, and we're going to subtract the area of the room that he needs to carpet. And remember, that was 8 3/4 by 9 1/3. Now we can't multiply those two numbers together until we rewrite them as improper fractions. So let's go ahead and do that. So I rewrote 8 3/4 as 35/4, and I rewrote 9 1/3 as 28/3. Now I'm just going to multiply across on the top and the bottom. I'm going to multiply my numerators and my denominators. So multiplying gave me 980 over 12. I would prefer to have that as a mixed number. 12 goes into 98 8 times with a remainder of 8. So that's 81 and 8/12, which simplifies to 81 and 2/3. Great. So in order to subtract these, I'm going to rewrite 85 as 84 and 3/3 because 84 plus 3/3 is 85. Then I can subtract from that 81 and 2/3. 84 minus 81 is 3, and 3/3 minus 2/3 is 1/3. So I have 3 1/3. So they're going to have 3 1/3 square feet left over.